when I wasn't really doing well with my diabetes, there would be whispers in the background, right? And one of the whispers that really bugged me to this day, because I'm bringing it up, was, "Hey, is he drunk at work?"
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Community Table, where we bring honest and bold conversations about living with diabetes straight to you. For those who don't know me, I'm part of the Beyond Type 1 crew as well. You might have noticed me on the socials. I have had type 1 diabetes for 16 years, and I am really excited to be here for this topic today. Today, we're talking all about what it's really like to work while managing diabetes, because we don't just have one full-time job, we have two. One our bosses can see and one they can't. Our guests today aren't just part of the diabetes community, they're part of the Beyond Type 1 team as well. They're bringing real insight, lived experience, and the kind of honesty that reminds you that you're not alone in this. Curious who they are? Let's meet them. First up, we've got Fil Mendez Guipoco. Phil is an award-winning nonprofit leader and our National Director of Community Health Impact here at Beyond Type 1. With over 30 years of experience managing type 2 diabetes, Phil brings personal and professional insight to the realities of burnout, stigma, and surviving in systems that weren't built for us. Phil, welcome to Community Table. Next up, we've got Taylor Rindfleisch. Taylor is our Director of Partner Management here at Beyond Type 1 and has lived with type 1 diabetes for 18 years. From corporate roles to marathon training, Taylor's story is one of resilience, advocacy, and the balancing act of thriving with diabetes, both on and off the clock. Taylor, welcome to Community Table. I'm so excited to be with both of you guys here today.
It'll be fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to have a good time.
Yay! All right, let's dive into the conversation. Do you guys ever feel like managing diabetes is like a second full-time job? I feel like I'm constantly working a full-time job with my diabetes, and then I add a salary job on top of it, and I'm just exhausted all the time. Do you guys feel that way?
It is. It really is. I live with type 2 diabetes, and I've had diabetes for several years now, and I've seen different progress, right? So regarding my own diabetes journey, and then you link it in with work and the responsibilities, the different tasks, and it varies month to month, quarter to quarter, and day to day sometimes as well. So my diabetes journey has been something else that I think I have to constantly continue to adjust, as it doesn't really remain the same.
Yeah. I love what you said about how it's not ever really the same either. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing the diabetes game so well, and I'm like, oh, finally my pancreas is working. And then you just get hit out of nowhere and like, never mind. Okay, it's still here, still have diabetes. But when my blood sugar is really high in a meeting, I'll start doing solely as push-ups, because it's supposed to help with your blood sugar. And so oftentimes when I'm doing that, I'm like, wow, there's normal people who just go into their work meetings and they just never have to do this, and they don't ever look at their phone or a CGM. So to your point and your original question, Isabel, yeah, I definitely feel like it's a full-time job in the background, just lurking.
Even when we go on PTO, even when we have vacation days, it's like we can never fully like relax, you know? We still have, like, in the back of our mind, we have our other full-time job. Like, you don't get PTO from diabetes.
It would be great if we could. Who do we submit these asks to?
I think for me, I'm always trying to find that middle ground, right, of staying on top of it because I feel better. I know it'll be better for the long run. But at the same time, for me, I get tired. But like Taylor mentioned, I wish there was opportunities where I could just take a break, man. Sometimes I just want a break, right?
And it makes the burnout 10 times worse.
It's like, are you feeling burnt out? Well, great. You still don't have a break from this. I always feel that way when you like roll out of bed, you've got a full day of work, like back-to-back meetings. And maybe it was one of those nights where your CGM was just beeping all through the night. And you're like, yay, and another low. And now I have like 4 hours of sleep in my pocket, and I'm going to go face an entire day of work. Like, here we go.
Have you guys ever shared your diabetes at work? And if so, like, what happened? How'd you do it? How'd you feel afterwards? Did you wish you did? Did you wish you didn't?
Isabel, I've been in chronic health in the field for 30 years. The first part of it was understanding my own health, and then having this murky space of who do I tell? Do I want to say anything? Should I do that? I'll say this because of the team members at Beyond Type 1 who really openly talk about living with type 1 and other forms of diabetes. I've felt more comfortable talking about my type 2. But, as well, there's been some tough situations where work hasn't always been there for me.
And especially, unfortunately, when it comes to type 2 diabetes, sometimes the stigma that's involved, because a lot of people just don't understand. Oftentimes, you did nothing to get this disease. When you first were diagnosed or when you were younger, did you have more of a hard time sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to share anything, 30 years ago. Something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
They may need special attention, and nobody wants to be drawn to that as well. And in the back of my mind, especially during those times, will that hurt you at work? Right? By having diabetes or any other kind of health issue, will that look negatively from your supervisor? Say, hey, Phil does his job. He does X, Y, and Z. But can we really rely on him? Because he might have to go to the doctor. He might not be dependable. It maybe attacks my credibility and my reliability from that point of view. And I hate to share that that's happened. But that's the truth of that.
It's reality.
Yeah, I was really scared to do that. But again, slowly I started trusting individuals at work. I got from a point from being embarrassed to knowing that potentially that can save my life.
Yeah, to your point, Phil, like you don't ever want to get in a situation where I'm shaking in a corner and absolutely nobody has any idea what's going on. And so focus on you. If people react negatively, that's on them.
Let me also share this as well, too, is when I wasn't really doing well with my diabetes, there would be whispers in the background, right? And one of the whispers that really bugged me to this day, because I'm bringing it up, was, hey, is he drunk at work, right? Was I a little loopy, right? What's going on? I don't look like I'm doing well. I don't really look focused. I might be a little bit out of it. At that time, maybe I was not controlling my diabetes. I wasn't managing it as best as I could. And maybe I've had some significant fluctuations. But hey, I'm a guy, right? And sometimes guys ignore things. And maybe I think I'll tough it out and just get through it because that's what you do. But it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel like shit, really, when that happens.
Yeah, but it's so important that you bring that up. And thank you guys for sharing these, because especially when you're not taking care of your diabetes, you really just don't feel like sharing it with others. Like if you're trying to ignore it yourself, then you're not going to want to share it with the world. And then you're going to put yourself in harm's way. And that's really tough. And what about your guys' earlier jobs? I know, Taylor, you worked at Starbucks, but like, especially jobs where you have to stand, like that is something that is really tough for diabetics when we're going through either high or low blood sugar. And have you had like a coworker that's had to help you, or like any stories like that?
Oh, yeah. I had my Starbucks coworkers on deck. They were the best. Sometimes I had to take, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those little sample cups at Starbucks, but sometimes, like, we're in the middle of a rush, and I worked in little kiosks, so it was, like, quite small. There's only a couple of us in there, and I would have to just rip, a little shot of classic syrup and keep going. Like, in the middle of Frappuccino happy hour, absolutely no one cares if your blood sugar is 60. Like, we gotta keep the show rolling.
Okay, guys, we obviously have to talk about it because it's work related. Insurance. Have you guys ever had to take a job because of insurance? Have you ever stayed at a job longer than you should have because of the insurance?
I think the time that rings loudest in my head was not necessarily staying in a job for insurance, but the sheer panic that came over me when years ago I got cut off of my parents' insurance just due to like age. And the panic, I like did not know what to do with myself. And I was like, okay, I need to go get the highest paying job I possibly can. Like, does that mean good insurance? Like, what does that mean? Like, how do I even figure out all the things I need to know about insurance? And so I really empathize when people are getting to that age, because I had the privilege of my parents just took care of the insurance. It was like magic in the background. And so when I was faced with that, I don't think I'll ever forget how much I panicked and was like, do I even get medicine? I can't pay for that out of pocket. I'm making like $15 an hour. Little miss out of college. Like, that's not going to work.
Agreed.
Let me also share this. There's being insured and there's being underinsured, right? And I could have a job, and many people are fortunate to have a job where their job gives them insurance, but it's crappy insurance, right?
Yeah.
And the deductibles are really high, and you're paying a lot, and there's still a lot of money coming out, and you've got to figure that out along the line. So I hope as people take a look and think about back at their experience, yeah, some of us stay because you have no choice, and then those of us who do have a choice, I think hopefully that factors into where we go and what we do. And this is what I know I'm going to need. I'm going to be looking for these coverage just as important as the salary that you get.
And then when it comes to like interviews, have you guys ever had to disclose your diagnosis in an interview, or do you wait until you get the job?
Oh, I take it off the table. I'm like, hey, my CGM, it might go off and I'm going to have to look at my phone. And I promise you, it's with all respect, but I'm going to have to look at my phone and see what's going on.
I think I weave it in, right? I think I do it a little bit more subtle. I'll mention it. I talk about it as part of my journey, as far as what I've experienced, how it's helped me build organizations and contribute to other parts besides my job. So I'll subtly kind of bring that in. But I think, as I take a look at future opportunities, I think it'll be more of a central theme on me because it plays such a big role in my life.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being so vulnerable, because that was a tough question. But is there anything that you guys do for your diabetic coworkers that you can think of that might help like lighten the load?
Yeah. I mean, anytime somebody's like, I'm dealing with a high, I'm like, get off and go on a walk right now. Why are you slacking me? Like, throw a little emoji on and go take care of yourself. I try to always have that gut reaction to say, take care of you. Then we can take care of all the rest of the stuff. Take care of you first.
All right, it's time to take some calls from the community. We have some questions gathered from people from the community who work with diabetes. Are you guys ready to hear them?
Let's go.
All right, let's hear the first one.
Hi, Community Table. I have a question about something that I struggle with at work, but honestly, in a lot of places that I call, "It's fine, I got it" syndrome. I think because I've been living with diabetes for so long, coming up on 28 years, I know exactly how far I can push and still be okay, even if technically my body is like, girl, you are not okay. But at work, particularly because I'm always trying to prove, like, I can show up, I can push through, I can get this thing done. I'm reliable, give me work, don't fire me, please. I push through things that really I should be saying, like, hey, my diabetes needs my attention right now. I shouldn't be pushing through this. And it's not even other people asking me to do it. I just do it first. So curious if you struggle with this, and if so, how you get yourself to stop. Thank you. Bye.
That's such an important question.
I always want to do my best, and I'll be probably the first one to push through, but as I've gotten older, I've tried to stop. I do this maybe once a month to say, hey, what are the one or two things I'm going to try to do this month to get better at? The point about it is not to push through, to take that stop, to be able to prioritize what I need to do that, because what I end up realizing is it ends up taking me out for a lot longer than if I would have just kind of dealt with it on the front end.
Phil is much more mature than myself. I was in like deep thought thinking about this because that really resonated with me. Like, I do the same thing. And so my first reaction reflecting on that question was like, why do I do that? What do I need to prove to who and why? To that person's question, like it's to me, but like why do I need to do that, and what are you actually doing, and should you be doing that? I feel like those are the questions that we should be asking, and maybe the solution to this is back to what we were talking about earlier, which was like managing our schedules. Like, do you really need to cram your whole day through? You can afford 30 minutes to take care of yourself. Like, you can do that, and you're either going to choose to do it and take care of yourself, or you're not. But I think it's important to maybe slow ourselves down and be like, what are you doing, and why, and who is this for? Because nobody asked you to do this. This is self-inflicted, and it's time to pause.
Yeah. And it's hard too when remote work has come into play, because I feel like the lines get blurred between like when we log off. And obviously with diabetes, we don't log off. And so it's kind of just like in our brain, we're like, okay, well, we don't log off our other full-time jobs, so we don't need to, log off the full-time job that pays us. But it's also hard too when it comes to jobs like Starbucks or like the events job, where you can't just like sit down for a second. Like, sometimes you're not able to just take a break. You have scheduled breaks and they last for however long. And so it's really tough.
Isabel, I think also with pushing through, like, this is my situation as well. I've gotten too comfortable with knowing my body, right? And I got to be able to force myself to learn different things, because when I get comfortable, maybe that's when I sometimes get into trouble, right? When I said, oh, don't worry about it, I know when a low is coming, right? Like, I could start feeling the beginnings of a low. I get too cocky. I get too confident in that as well. And I have to be able to adjust and think about and be able to learn about different things. If not, that overconfidence ends up hurting me as well. So making sure I'm just not overconfident, too cocky, and just understanding my symptoms, knowing how my body reacts, simply saying, I just need X, Y, and Z and I'll be fine. Well, maybe I won't. And I think that complacency may end up hurting me if I'm not really careful about that.
And if you guys could tell your employer one thing, or every employer one thing that you wish that they would know about how to support someone with diabetes, what would it be?
With diabetes, as with anything else, ask the person, right? Ask your future employees how they can help. Let them know that hopefully you'll be available and supportive, and you'll always listen. And I know they teach us listening in today's leadership opportunities, but a lot of supervisors still don't. You're trying to execute, they're trying to get the job done, they're responsible for goals and deadlines and priorities, and sometimes that's folded by 5 times. But the general thing, in just general about just simply asking to see how things are going and valuing that individual, I think that would go a really long way.
I want to emphasize what Phil said about ask them. Like, don't go into the monologue of all the things you know about diabetes because your aunt's cats, whatever. Like, don't do that at all costs. Ask them, approach them, and be genuinely curious.
We've all met those people. They're like, oh, well, my dog has it. So I totally get it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This was such a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Isabel, thank you so much. Taylor, you're fantastic. Very, very fortunate to see each other most of the days.
That's a wrap on this episode of Community Table. Thank you to Taylor and Phil for sharing what it's really like to live and work with diabetes. And thank you to our sponsors, Eli Lilly and Dexcom, for making this episode possible. If something in today's conversation resonated with you, check out the description below. You'll find helpful tools and community resources, including workplace rights info, accommodation guides, and tips for managing burnout. For more stories, support, and strategies, head to beyondtype1.org and follow us at beyondtype1 on all social platforms if you haven't already. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next episode.